What's up, folks? Welcome back to TacticalTortoise. My name is Trevi, and today we're talking about an issue in the tabletop simulator 40K sphere, a virus that's infected the community. Today I'm going to be covering the details of this problem, and if you play TTS 40K, how you can repair your files on your machine. Now, for those who don't know, Tabletop Simulator is a platform for playing virtual board games. The game is essentially just a physics engine that also allows scripting on objects within the game on a limited language called Lua. While the game itself has ways to manipulate cards and objects and move things around within the virtual play space, this scripting language is really what makes it unique, and this is what allows you to create more complex board games that kind of play themselves, that keep score, that shuffle cards for you, and that follow the mechanics of the game without players having to do it manually. So a lot of the content in Tabletop Simulator is community generated. Players will create games within Tabletop Simulator or import them from IRL, and then you represent those rules and mechanics with the scripting language, then upload them to the Steam Workshop to share them with other people and load them into online lobbies. Now, a little bit of a caveat here. I'm basically a neophyte when it comes to computer programming, so most of what I report here is information that's been told to me by other community members. As you can imagine, however, the ability to script any object within the Tabletop Simulator game is incredibly powerful and basically allows people to upload custom code onto the Steam Workshop, which can be potentially dangerous. Fortunately, this scripting doesn't run outside Tabletop Simulator, so while you can potentially script objects to operate maliciously while Tabletop Simulator is active, they can't go and infect other files on your machine. They're limited to the environment of the game. That said, while they can't migrate elsewhere, there is a lot of potentially dangerous stuff, or at least deleterious stuff, that they could be doing while Tabletop Simulator is being active. In this case, last week, a malicious self-replicating strand of code was discovered in many files on the Steam Workshop, and most importantly, the Warhammer 40K corner of the platform. Now, if you're not familiar with TTS 40K, I do a ton of content about it, and I even stream it almost every day over on that purple website, and also upload a ton of my battle report videos in it over on my second channel. It basically just uses Tabletop Simulator as the physics engine with which to move models around a virtual tabletop. It's also very useful for competitive play because there's no need to actually purchase the models to play the game, so you can test lists and get a feel for the metagame before you go to an IRL tournament. I've got some videos on how to get started in TTS 40K elsewhere on the channel. I'll drop some links to those down in the video description if you want to go check those out and get started yourself. The videos are a little bit old, but they are still relevant, and everything that I say in there is still up to date. That said, in this particular case, a lot of the Warhammer 40K models on Steam were actually infected with this self-replicating software. Once an object with this code was loaded into a game lobby, it would copy itself to all of the other objects within that lobby, potentially infecting the save files that players would have that they would then go and load into future lobbies to then infect those objects as well. Given how TTS 40K works, where players will create an army, save that army as an object, and then when they go to play with it, spawn it into a lobby, you can see how this would spread within the 40K community pretty quickly. Now, what does this virus actually do once it's infected those objects? Its actual intent isn't really clear. And fortunately for us, it looks like the code may have been old and at this point defunct. Most of the code is dedicated to replicating itself and then accessing an external website for a payload file. Fortunately, it appeared that that website was no longer functional, so the virus didn't actually execute any further functions. But its replicating itself did have significant performance issues for the Tabletop Simulator software. If in the last 2 to 3 weeks you noticed significant slowdowns in your games of TTS 40K, getting lag spikes and potential crashes or somewhere around the 2-ish hour mark, that's probably because you had files infected with this malicious code. Now, there are some theories on what the code could potentially be used for, and I think obviously it redirecting to a website that could potentially go back online and upload a payload file is still incredibly concerning. So getting rid of it is the primary objective. And how do we do that? Now, the community leapt to action in response to this incursion version, and we now have several tools to deal with this particular virus. First of all of the 40k Battleforge mod packs and the FTC map base file have been completely scrubbed of this code. If you have old versions of these files already, I recommend that you go through and delete them and replace them with a more up-to-date version. I'll leave a link to the Battleforge mod GitHub in the video description. That's where you can get the most up-to-date copy. It has a lot of new models in it and a lot of cleaning software built into the files themselves, so hopefully it will remain relatively sterile from these codes, at least for a little while. Now, in terms of ways that you can proactively deal with this, the Cleaner Block is a mod by Larry Corville. It's a scrubber that erases self-replicating Lua script from objects in any lobby in which it is spawned. To use it, you just subscribe to the mod on the Steam Workshop. You can then additive load the Cleaner Block. It just looks like a little block, and you set it down in your lobby wherever you want. If you have infected object, you'll see a bunch of red messages pop up as the block goes through its scripting process. If you don't see those, however, it just means that the lobby that you've spawned it in is clear of any of those infected files. It's also probably a good idea anytime that you get new mods from the Steam Workshop to run the Cleaner Block through them in order to ensure that you're not downloading infected content in the future. Now, the one downside of the Cleaner Block is that it's a bit of an indiscriminate tool. It's kind of the nuclear option when it comes to cleaning your scripts. First of all, it will probably gut most existing scripts on infected objects. So if they have other functions that they're supposed to perform, they'll most likely break. Additionally, it can only rewrite surface level objects. The stuff hidden down in bunkers will be safe from the nuclear fallout, at least for a couple decades. So there are some object types that actually do not get cleaned by the Cleaner Block. Things like stated objects, objects in bags, or objects that are combined together. Only the surface level object will be cleaned. The rest could potentially remain infected. So for a little bit more of a surgical approach, community member Carl, with a K and 3 A's, has written a Python script that will actually specifically delete this particular code segment from every JSON file on which it is run. A JSON file is essentially the save file that TTS uses on mods and saved games in order to recreate them. I'll leave a link to the Google Drive file with this Python script that Carl has written. Basically, all you need to do to use it is install Python on your machine and download the script. You can then drag the save and mod folders from your TTS folder over the script, at least if you're running on a Windows machine. You'll then see a pop-up to show that the Python script is running, and all files in those folders should then be clean of this code. If you want to double check, you can even load them in and spawn a Cleaner Block to see if it comes up with any code erasure, or you can even open the JSON file in text editing software and search for key phrases like a glitch or a web request, which the malicious code has. If those are absent, then that file has been cleaned. It's important to note that, to my knowledge, this only works in this particular piece of code, so if there are future viruses, this Python script may not actually deal with those. The Cleaner Block is, I think, a little bit less discriminate, so I think it hits a larger variety of malicious code. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that one is a little bit more of a safer option moving on to the future if we continue to hit problems like this. Now, in addition to that, it's obviously up to the community to remain vigilant against incursions like this one. Cleaning new mods or files that you download with Cleaner Blocks should help a lot, and not saving files from unknown or untrusted players while within lobbies, or allowing unknown players to come in and spawn objects in your lobbies can help potentially limit further spread. You know, sometimes people just want to spawn stuff in your lobbies. I'm gonna be honest, it sounds super gross. That said, in my opinion, a lot of the onus as well falls on Berserk Games, the creators of Tabletop Simulator, to help protect the community they created and continue to profit from a game created almost entirely based on player-generated content. So, keeping that content clean of malicious code should be paramount, and ensuring the safety of their players should be one of their top priorities. To my knowledge, they've been radio silent on this issue, however, as I haven't found any Steam announcements on this topic or topics in the discussion forums regarding this infection as well. But it certainly was a Herculean effort by the TTS 40k community to resolve this issue in this case, and they did so with alarming alacrity. So I want to give out some huge thanks to the team over on the TTS Warhammer 40k Discord, including the admin Malice, who brought this issue to the attention of most of the players, as well as Pants999 and Marshall Bohemond for for their insane work upkeeping the more technical aspects of the 40k mod set, and their rapid response to cleaning their files of this issue. As well as, obviously, Carl with a K and 3 A's, who created the Python script to clean out any saved files. It really was a rapid response from the community, and they put a ton of work into making the game safer and keeping TTS 40k fun to play for everybody. This whole thing truly wouldn't be possible without them, and I appreciate them immensely. And with that, that's all I have to say about this one. Just a little quick PSA about this viral issue. Let me know down in the comment section if you have cleaned your TTS 40k files. That's very important. And if you have any additional details to share about this issue that I did not include in this video, let me know down there as well. Please check out the video description. I'll have links to all of the different files and mods that I discussed today. Remember to keep it classy, folks, and have happy wargaming.